is up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. We in this do, baby. And we're going to get into a lot of things on the show tonight. What is going on with you? What is up, Bran? We got a lot to talk about. Now, I almost hijacked this episode for something else, but we're going to do it tomorrow because I am in shock. So, starting out with the latest news as of right now, something that I want to talk about. It has become one of the biggest debates that I've seen, that people do not believe in the moon landing, and it has become a real problem. I genuinely just only said the reason why it's so hard for me to believe anything is because of AI, because we are in a place where, like I told you guys, context has to matter, and we have to dig through context of things. And I don't know. It's just like at this point, everything I'm going to be skeptical. I don't even know if something's real for a long time now. I don't believe rumors. I don't believe people tweeting anymore because you don't know what's real. You don't know if it needs to be confirmed by like a ton of people. And I mean, that's sad, but that's where we are in life. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about, right. And again, it's not even something I ever thought I'd be here to debate. But like we talked about, context matters. If you look at it historically, it was a race to see who gets to the moon first. I really don't want to go back into that point because I don't have enough of an education on that time. I haven't watched enough. But what I am saying is, with the fact that we are in this age where things are so fake, that it just makes you not take things at face value, which I think is smart. But at the same time, it makes it hard because then you see something and for me personally, I can't just take it for what it is. Like, I have to really, really see. I don't know. I just have to take my time with it. So I have seen that nonstop. And it's interesting. Now, what is going on today? Well, it was about not a week ago, but last week. And this is where we need to get into something we have talked about. So this is a subject that we have got to finish talking about. So there was a court date for Taylor Frankie Paul. And I want to just kind of watch this because this isn't my favorite video, but it's a little bit more of a recap. There is a full video of the entire hearing, and that was on East Idaho News as well as others. But what's interesting about all of this is that we have seen the video. We've all kind of seen what happened. It all kind of blew up. And then what's interesting that I did see, and then others asked me as well if I saw it, was if Taylor Frankie Paul left the LDS church, and she put that on her story, which I think is really interesting because, number one, her show is called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Number one, I don't know if you guys have seen the show, but the show is basically a reality show. And that reality show is them. And that reality show is a bunch of wives that are married and Mormon. Like, that's literally part of it. So that is exactly where, I don't know, like, what do you do when one of your main people who, in my personal opinion, I think that Taylor is, if you saw the promotion back when they first started the show, she was the number one person. She was in it. Thank you, Kathy. Yes. It is not really a reality show. And if you guys would like a peek into that kind of stuff, they set those scenes up. They know what they're going to do. I'm sure some of the reactions are even planned. It's just what it is. So it's unfortunate, but we're going to watch a little bit of this video, and we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on.
Paul's saga continues, this time in court. And there's a lot of he said.
She is completely reckless in her behavior towards the children.
She said.
There's been a very well-documented history of Dakota trying to re-engage and re-enter and resume the relationship.
Either way,
so that's what's interesting here, is that in this situation, like we always talk about, there are always two sides. What I am trying to say when it comes to the incident that everybody is going crazy about when it comes to social media and everything is simply this. Gosh dang it, I keep switching over. The simplicity is this. The situation about not letting him leave, from what we see, okay, this is from what we can see, is the video of him trying to get out, trying to leave the home. and just being stopped and then the items being thrown. It should never escalate to that. Now, you can argue, sit back and say, oh, well, this is a reaction. This is her reacting to how he's acting, blah, blah, blah. Listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to your children being in the room, they witness that, whether they're little or not, they're in the room. They're in danger when you start throwing things and you don't know what kind. That, to me, that situation puts you in full-on self-defense mode, because in that situation you have to be very careful about what happens next, and whatever you do next could be life-changing.
Attorneys are bringing it.
That might be the easiest way to address that. Have a showdown.
This is Scandal, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Sierra Gillespie. Just when we thought the drama surrounding Taylor Frankie Paul had finally calmed down, she pops back up. This time,
we're not going to watch this whole
days
episode,
after announcing she's stepping away from the Mormon church, files
the part that's crazy, right? Okay, so let's do context. Let's talk about, you guys might not know this, leaving the Mormon church is a huge decision for anybody. It doesn't, I don't think anybody understands. When you are LDS, it is really your life, and it is your culture, and it is who you interact with, especially if you live in very highly populated Mormon areas. So if you live in like Arizona, Idaho, or Utah, specifically Utah, and I would say probably Idaho as well, if you leave the church, it is a big deal, because number one, the argument is now, okay, you've left the church, like you've basically left God in their minds, because they're the true church in their minds. And then you culturally, are doing things that are outside of the realm of everything that everybody else does. And so like, this is where I've even said the church needs to figure out how to be more Christian in that way, is understanding that if you're trying to invite people towards Jesus, you have to be very careful with how you come about that, right? And it's always been my warning just to the church, is like, be careful for becoming haughty. Like, don't be so prideful to say, like, associating with someone who's not LDS, like, how else are you going to get them to join the church if that's your goal? You can't have it be both ways. And so that's where it's crazy, though, is like, this is a huge decision that also changes her trajectory for her show, because she is no longer a Mormon or a wife. So that's crazy, man. I really don't know what else to say, but let's keep watching this.
Protective order against her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Dakota Mortensen. The filing coming only hours before a previously scheduled court hearing to decide the fate of her custody arrangement with Dakota and their 2-year-old son.
There's a lot of sort of coercive control happening, and that does involve sometimes, acting violently around or towards, or slamming the doors of the child's room, trying to disrupt and involve the child in the violence in order to get my client to react.
And so that's, again, this is what we learn in court, is that everything is allegedly in these kind of situations. It is literally, you're the villain, she's the villain. That's how it's going to be. From based off the video alone is where I keep going back to, with evidence that you can see. That is where my issue comes in, is that you escalated to a level that should have never got there, because that took it to, that's as high as a level as it gets. Once you start throwing items at people, once you start getting to that point, it is beyond, you shouldn't even be in the same room again.
While we still haven't forgotten about that newly resurfaced video, the one that was reportedly taken by Dakota amidst a fight back in 2023, but was just hard launched on the internet by TMZ last month. You remember the one, it's kind of hard to forget.
This is called physical abuse.
We're diving into all of this. Taylor's protective order against Dakota, Dakota's filing against her,
And that's the thing too, we need to understand. Gosh dang, this freaking mouse just triple clicks.
From the Bachelorette cancellation, and
that's another thing too. So let's just break this down all together. Number one, let's talk about the society rule of, like, once they saw this video and the behavior, then they said, okay, we're canning her season. Now, this is what's crazy, right? If money were the number one objective in the Bachelor's mind, you would think that they'd say, oh my gosh, this is going to make this the highest watched season of all time. The Bachelor, the Bachelorette, okay, the show and the network would say, oh my gosh, this is going to be the highest rated. Everyone's going to watch this season. For them to literally cancel and lose that much money, and after filming and paying for people to go out there, you guys know they fly you out, they keep you there. It's insanity, right? When you get to that point and you cancel her show over this situation, that just shows you how quickly opinions move, right? So again, this goes back to like Johnny Depp as well, right? Immediately once he's in the public eye and in the negative light, they cancel everything about him until after the trials. And then you're back in square one where you realize, okay, what was really going on? But the first thing is in people's mind is cancel. It's like first cancel, then try to figure out. It's shoot first, ask questions later mentality in our society. You hear something and you just jump to a conclusion. So that's kind of the thing I've always tried to encourage our group is to be really careful with. Again, though, referring to now the video itself, it was beyond. For him to take the video, I think of his position, you need some, you're trying to protect yourself. The video is the protection, number one. Then two, you're in a bad situation and it's escalating and escalating and escalating. But obviously he has feelings for her. He doesn't want this to go bad. He tried to ask the officers to take him. And so this is what's crazy is like, you know, this whole situation is crazy. But obviously that situation didn't keep him away, because remember, there's context to the timing of all this stuff, right? So this was 2023, like 2023 video. That was not the last time that they were together. So again, and then lastly, her own show. So let's just go back to her own TV show now. She's risked, if they even ever do it again, if you realize that she's no longer LDS and no longer associates with it in any way, shape, or form, how do you continue that show? You know what I mean? So this whole thing is just insane because there's so much more ramification to this than just, you know, I mean, as far as it goes to like the media side and her whole life that she's lived to this point. But my biggest concern truly just is mental health, and then the children's safety has to come first. But she needs to deal with the mental health, and so does he. That's just your responsibility as a parent. If you're putting your child in a position where they're in your home and you're throwing effing furniture, you're past that point. You already should have been, you know, figuring stuff out, because that environment for your children where they're catching literal strays off of items. Let's say you got mad enough without thinking and threw glass. Let's say you got just a little bit, one other thing in your hand. Like we can't sit here and say, oh, well, that was just her reacting to his abuse. Okay. The reality is she should have called the cops and could have got him out. That's the reality. Like there's ways around that. Throwing a chair and beating up on each other is not your answer. And again, I can honest to God tell you that I have been physically abused myself as a child. And I'm telling you that the answer is not to try to always fight back. Now, again, have I been in that situation as a woman? No. Or as a grown woman? No. But again, she is a grown woman. I'm sorry. You have to face the facts. What two wrongs don't make a right. So you can't sit here and say, well, what she did was, oh, he did all this stuff and made her act that way. No, he did not. She chose that. She blew her top and she chose that. That's all I'm going to say. You can't sit here and say that those actions are justifiable unless her life is in freaking danger. You should look up the rules of engagement when it comes into what type of situation you're in where you go into defense mode like that. That's not what it is. That's her blowing her top. And I'm gonna be honest, seeing her demeanor as a person, she's got an attitude. And so maybe that translated into that anger. There's alleged situations where she's angry and slamming the doors and causing and trying to get into situations. The point being, when we are discussing this situation, we talk about the video that we have on record, and the video on record proves one point is that she took it too far, and that's all you have to know. That's all it is.
Hi guys, we are going to be prepping for my kids because for those of you that know, I'm a divorced parent, so I do like a prep day before my kids come for the weekend. I already have them. because I got home a day earlier than I thought. So we are still gonna go get groceries and prep for the weekend.
Taylor rose to fame on TikTok after saying her ex-husband, Tate Paul, filed for this incident
So
for
there's a lot of this whole situation after, which is the conversations. And again, let's just be honest. Can people make mistakes? Yes. But guess what? People get their kids removed from bad situations and where they would be put in danger. That's what it is.
multitude of reasons and is honestly still very relevant to what we're talking about today. So let me
We're going to skip over some of this
After
commentary.
midnight on the 23rd. So 2 separate incidents, 2 separate interactions. And I'm looking at, for purposes of today, I'm looking at the 23rd, or what I call the truck tussle. Essentially, both parties allege that they were having, that Dakota came over to Taylor's house. So essentially, they've had, obviously, a tumultuous relationship, and there's been a very well-documented history of Dakota trying to re-engage and re-enter and resume the relationship.
And that's another issue. Okay. So let's put something back on that. If you know that you're in a bad relationship and you know that you are going to piss each other off to a level of no end, where you've been to that level, this is what we need to talk about, these types of relationships. At that point, you just need to leave. You need to stop engaging. So that goes back to just as much as his responsibility. Even if you love her, and this is, not for me to put myself in their business like that. It's just simply reacting to the situation by saying, from an outsider, you have to just understand that you two should not even be in a relationship, no matter how much you care about each other, because this is the type of stuff that comes together when you get together. You are 2 chemicals mixing, and you're freaking Coke and Mentos. You should not be in a relationship. What's interesting, though, is that once it all goes public, right? Again, it's 2026. Once this all goes public, then it turns into this whole, let me get a restraining order against you and all this stuff. It's just weird. Like, why was there 3 years of that gap where you never felt safe? But the second it goes public, now we go to court. Now all this stuff happens. That's what doesn't make sense to me, but whatever.
One such example took place on February 23rd of this year, early morning hours, soon after midnight.
Before the violent episode, right? Before the incident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is that incident, the truck tussle. So kids are sleeping inside, the 3 children that my client has, 2 with her ex-husband and 1 with Mr. Mortensen. They're sleeping inside her home in Draper. Mr. Mortensen comes over, and my client decides, fine,
Why did he come over?
talk about the relationship.
Not to pick up the kids? It wasn't his turn?
No,
to
middle
have
of the
the
night. It wasn't
kid
related to
invited
the
over,
children.
or did he just show up with unannounced?
I think it was by invitation. In other words, she acquiesced to his coming over.
Okay. All right.
Kids are sleeping. She doesn't want it to escalate and turn into an argument. So she says, fine, I'll talk, but let's do it in your truck. So they go in and they sit in the front seat of the truck, and things immediately start to escalate. He drives away with her in the truck against her objection. And then something happens. Okay. I say something because this is where there's a huge divergence in the stories. You've read the request for protective orders supplied by Mr. Mortensen. He says, Taylor went crazy and she threw a drink, and I don't know. She assaulted him, essentially at its core. Taylor.
Why are you guys in the truck? That's all I'm trying to say. Like, it's just one of those situations where you keep getting into these positions.
Alleges that he grabbed her head during the course of this argument and slammed it into the dashboard, and in the ensuing chaos also struck with his fist her knee and her elbow. In that binder in front of you, Your Honor, you'll see exhibits E and F. E shows the progression of a bruise on her forehead that she took.
Kind of yellowish in the picture.
Gets yellow. Yeah. The first one was taken hours after the incident, so not really yellow, but it's discolored. There's a bump. And then the additional pictures within that exhibit show the progression of the color changes of the bruise. Exhibit F shows something similar. It's a bruise on her knee from when he struck her in the truck. My client would testify
Who
that
took the photos? What's the foundation?
My client took the photos.
On the day of the incident?
The first one was taken, I believe, within hours. So think under 10 hours or so after the incident when the bruise formed.
That was the soundbite from Taylor's attorney, who argued that at the time of this so-called truck tussle, Taylor separated herself from Dakota and even asked him to leave the property. But in Dakota's protective order filing from back in March, he cited this incident as an alleged pattern of abuse all at the hands of Taylor and included that February.
It's just finger pointing too. But the thing is, in the video we see, it's clear as day who's attacking. But again, the only thing that you can say that's fair is simply you don't know everything that led up to it. But again, it doesn't excuse it. That's what we need to understand. Why can't multiple things be true? That's the problem. Everybody's like has to pick this side. Like, oh, well, what about her? And she's like, no, it's like they're both wrong. There's a wrong going on all over the place. The point is, your two wrongs as two adults is now affecting your children and possibly getting them in situations where not only are they hearing screaming, fighting, all of that stuff. And again, I can attest to that as a kid. I grew up around that. Nothing to this level, but obviously I've seen it. I've seen a lot of screaming and yelling and contention. And I'll tell you, even as a teenager, even as a 9, 10, 11, 12, it never felt better or easier. It's always uncomfortable as a child to be around your parents and they're fighting. So that's number one. Let's go ahead and say that both sides can be wrong. And it's just the finger pointing part where then now it's no longer clear who's doing what. And so to get protection orders against one another with different allegations to the same thing. I told you guys this yesterday or whatever day I posted that video. When we talked about perspectives, this is how it goes. Here's me as the subject matter. Here's my camera pointing at me from this perspective. So you know this side, but what if I go this way and put it over here and now it's filming the side profile? It's the same situation with different points of views, and they're important because now we don't really know what's going on here. And so again, it just leaves people back to, well, who's right. At the end of the day, I feel like my stance, and the reason I'm even speaking on this, is simply for the children's sake. The fact that they're the ones that are being put in a bad position. That's why we're talking about this. I'm not as necessarily worried about, and again, they just shouldn't be around each other. Then you should never be around each other again. It's unfortunate because they have a child together. That's going to be a very tough situation, but they just shouldn't be around each other, period. So what's up, Brandon?
2023 cell phone video as alleged proof of this. Because of that filing, there's been a court date on the.
There's no disrespect to her. This is the whole. There's a bunch of little body cam moments that we're not going to get into. But again, it's crazy because I will say one thing that maybe most people, I think, can forget, and the simplicity is that even if you have money and a TV show and you got everything in life, stuff still happens, but a lot of things are self-inflicted. That's the only thing you have to say here. It's self-inflicted. And it's sad because who's caught in the middle? The kids, and then the adults also. They're caught in this perpetual cycle. Somebody has to end that.
Well, I guess the one thing I'm concerned about is her volatility, even if he's pushing buttons. Some of the videos suggest that when she finally snaps, there's significance to it. And is that pose a problem for the safety of the children?
Your Honor, you hit it right on the head at the outset of the hearing in asking Ms. Diaz the question of where is the anger directed? Dakota is excellent at escalating and aggravating my client, and her when she reacts,
but she's saying the same thing, right? So now we're both just saying you trigger me, I trigger you. Then stop triggering each other. Get the hell on. Move. It's like stop going around each other. And again, yes, you have kids, but there's ways around that. There's a way where you don't have to interact. So I just don't understand that. If you're both going to say, well, you trigger me, guess what my answer is? If you're a trigger for me, I'm walking out the door. I'll catch you on the flippity flop, brother. I'm out because I know you're going to put me in a bad position, even if it's my fault, even if it's me saying, okay, you piss me off. So I know I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. I'm going to make sure I don't get in a bad situation with you because it's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how that's like, it's just simple maturity. That's all I'm trying to get to at the end of the day. It's simple maturity. And yet here we are throwing chairs at each other and getting us in a situation where it could have gotten a little bit more, would have escalated. I feel like that, to me, if I had chairs thrown at me, that's as far as it goes. Like that's the ultimate thing. That's a threat. That's a real threat.
it's 100% directed at Dakota, and any exposure the child would have to that.
I'm not saying it's defensible, but you're saying, you're answering my question, I guess, is what from earlier, right? Right.
Yeah.
No, and I get that. I'm not trying to minimize abuse in a relationship by any means. That is not my goal here. And I'm not trying to say that it's easy for people to leave, because that's the simple answer. If someone says, well, I'm in a bad relationship, why don't you just leave? People always say it's not that simple. Of course it's not that simple. And again, I just know I've seen so much abuse in my life, and I've been through so much abuse in my life, that my personal first thought is, if you have your children, you should do everything you possibly can to protect them and take care of your mental health. So you need to know that if this has been going on for multiple years, you need to remove yourself. It is that simple. It should not be complicated. You just stop. You have enough money. This is what I don't want to hear. Okay. And I'm trying not to get really heated right now. I don't want to hear that you can't make it happen, because you have the resources, you've got family, and you've got money. So you can figure out good, healthy ways to do drop-offs and this and that, and stay away from each other. That's all I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. So this is not my client has no, she has no risk to these
I
children.
don't know how you can, that reaction, even where the children are present, So in one instance, in his arms, I think, right?
You're talking about the May 2025
Yeah,
incident?
we're going back, a little
Well,
ways. Yeah.
I want to address this as well as I can for you. What concerns you about that, Your Honor?
Well, I can have concerns about volatility and not reacting in a different way, even if she feels like she's being provoked, when you have a child right there in front of you. And that's my concern there, is that didn't seem to be recognizing that this child was being exposed to that conduct, whereas maybe she could have turned around and walked the other way. I don't know. I wasn't there, of course, but that's one of the concerns that I have from viewing some of the videos.
The reason I bring this up is Dakota pushes buttons. He's excellent at that. As long as these folks stay apart, which I think is fully stipulated, they need to stay apart. I don't think there's any risk of them coming together again in the aftermath of this. Then there is no risk to the child. No one's going to come into my client's house, whip out their phone and, and test her, push her buttons and refuse to leave. Not to mention the other allegations she's made about full-on domestic violence against her.
Dakota's team fires back, saying Taylor uses, quote, coercive control over him in front of the kids. And I've said kids a couple.
Can I honestly say that the more I personally listen to all of it like this with you, that I think there might be truth to both sides. Again, this is where we're losing this part in the world. We have become so black and white that we want answers so badly that we want to just choose a side. And it's never that simple, but we want it to be that simple, and it's not. It's just simply not that simple. That's what bothers me. I really don't like that, because I can honestly say, just from the behavioral stuff in this video, you can see that could be true, that she does some of that. And then on top of that, maybe it's even true that he does some of that. Again, I don't want to be someone throwing out allegations. I'm just saying, what if both of those things are true? But both of them kept letting it happen. So it's like, that's where I'm at with it. I'm going to read what you said too. My dad was really abusive towards my mom, and I would always get upset with my mom to leave my dad, because it really does mess with the children's heads. Exactly. Thank you. And I'm sorry that happened. But you get it. I've seen my mom in a bad relationship before she ever got one with Charles. And that relationship was horrible for her with Tylee's dad. And then it was horrible for me. And so, but the thing is, as a kid, you're environmentally aware. And so this is what we need to understand. Kids at the youngest of age, regardless if they remember it or not, I hate that we are not understanding of the fact that your environment you're putting around your kids is really, really important. They feel the atmosphere. They're not stupid. I promise you that. They're very smart. They're very keen. And even if they can't verbalize all of that, they know that there's something wrong. And so again, if you hear screaming, if you hear fighting, if you're putting that on in front of your kids, you are creating that environment. And so it's just a call for us to be better. None of us are perfect, but this situation, when it gets to that level, it's next. That's different. When things start really getting a literal flying objects, we've passed that point. You know what I mean?
Couple of times, but Taylor and Dakota share only one 2-year-old son. She does, however, have a 5-year-old daughter with her first husband.
Let me ask this too. Is he alleging that she's ever done anything that was aimed at the children, directly at the children, or it was incidental, her actions towards him that
That's the thing. That's what we're discussing. Is she directly attacking the children? No. But again, if the fact that you're going to blow your top to the point where kids catch literal strays, that's what we're discussing. That's a problem. That means that like everybody has a boiling point, right? But at the end of the day, your boiling point should be below where you get to that, where you have to just leave. Like you have to walk out, or you call someone, you do something first, unless your life is in danger.
where the children happen to be present, or one or more child happen to be present?
Your Honor, we're alleging both. That in the moments where the respondent is out of control, and in these moments where the parties are fighting and she is completely out of control, both things happen. She is completely reckless in her behavior towards the children. So yes, if they happen to be in the line of fire when she's coming at him, yes, they will get harmed. I'll draw the court's attention actually to I
just want you guys to understand why I'm telling you this stuff, because again, when someone can go to that level and get that angry, I do not think have any cap anymore. They see red and they lose it again. So meaning, what if that moment of a charge of them blowing that top puts everybody's life at risk because they just snap? And so if they snap, and then the next thing you know, it's literally life and death situations where they grab a weapon, where they do something. You get my point. This is what I'm trying to say, is that that's what makes this so dangerous, is that if you snap like that, and again, even if it wasn't meant to do that with the kids, there's a million situations, especially with spouses, where people lose it and they get in a fight and somebody takes the life of the other spouse. It's crazy. It's insane. But it's all the time. You guys know, you all watch true crime as well. We've all seen it. Like, it doesn't always have to be pre-planned, like a Lori or a Corey or these other people that are evil. Sometimes people literally just blow their top because they've been in whatever situation, they're pissed off, and they'll do something, and it'll be instantaneous. The point being the self-control, because you have, number one, your own life, but more importantly, you have your children's lives to take care of, and then you don't want to be someone that hurts someone else. That's the point. So it's irresponsible on their part to not be taking care of their own selves. Like, forget a TV show, bro. Even if they're paying you stupid money, this is what we're trying to talk about, finding and centering in your own self, because you don't want your kids growing up in that environment.
Exhibit 8, in which my client was holding, their young child.
Well, my question is really more where the anger was directed.
And we believe also that this is a case that, as we look deeper and deeper into the evidence, that you'll see that there's a lot of sort of coercive control happening. And that does involve sometimes, acting violently around or towards or slamming the doors of the child's room, trying to disrupt and involve the child in the violence.
That's number one. Oh my gosh, nothing gets under my skin more. If you are in a conflict with an adult and you try to use a child who's in the room to help you back up your story, blah, 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 unless it is something like horrible, like somebody did something to you and they witnessed it, something like that, but you try to involve a child into an adult situation, you need to check yourself right now. You need to check yourself immediately, because you have gone too far, because children do not think the way that we do. They're innocent little children. Their brains are not developed. They do not need to be in these situations. And so that bothers me if that's true. That's all I'll say.
Get my client to react.
There's another hearing set for April 30th. So the case's judge made a temporary.
So this is what's
Mormon
interesting. I want to show you guys this.
toward it.
This is really
I'll even
interesting.
continue.
Move out the way. Thanks, Sierra Gillespie. but shut your pie, gal. I'm trying to read this. Okay. So again, you don't know if you guys can see this because I'm the big boy in the big box here. I made it bigger for you. Okay. This was actually Taylor's story. This is really interesting. She posts, born and raised Mormon LDS, and I've always will love and respect the respect towards it. I'll even continue to go with my family at times. With that being said, it's time for me to detach myself from it. I don't know why she put the heart, but this is her post. I strongly believe in Christ, God, and the Bible and the divine. I believe that we are loved whether we are praying in a church building or from a bathroom floor at home. I've also experienced grace and love and that amazing people that aren't sure what they believe, if at all, and that's okay too. Point being, there's more out there to learn, and I'm writing this out as a release. I read it the first time, but the second time was a little bit more confusing than I remembered it being. No disrespect to her. I didn't really follow the sentiment there. But anyway, yes, she left the church, which is really interesting because she made it very clear. She posted this story, and I mean, that's a big deal. And I think it's a big deal because, again, it does not come lightly. I need you guys to understand that that is not a light decision because, again, if you're in the family, it is like, I wish I could give you guys an understanding. It is such a big deal. It is especially when you live if you live in Salt Lake City, in LDS capital, you are freaking, that's a big deal because everyone you know is LDS. And so when you leave the church, it's already a word. So like, I'll give you a perfect example. I left the church by my own free will, and I was about 20 to 21. And it's because my mom had forced me to go to church my whole life. And I just felt like that was wrong. I kept saying to myself, look, I'm an adult now. And I was being, my mom was trying to get to me through my uncle, not Alex, and trying to get him to make me feel bad about going to church, or at least just go to sacrament or just go to church. And it's like, look, me and God have our own thing going on. Okay. My relationship with God is not your, responsibility or your business at that point. I'm a grown man, and God is something that I need to have for myself. I need my own convictions. I want my own walk with Christ. I don't need my mommy to hold my hand and try to pull me towards God. And so that was kind of my rebellious part of that. You know what I mean? But once I actually started to read the Bible and do those things, that's when I came to my own decisions. So that's why I always tell you guys, encourage you, please really figure out what you believe. Don't just follow because there's a crowd. Don't just follow because it's what you're used to. Don't follow it because your family grew up in it. Don't do it because you did your whole life. Stand on your gosh dang convictions because you got them for yourself. That's the beauty of earning conviction in your life. That's the beauty of it, because when all hell breaks loose in your life, you are not going to crumble because you have your convictions. And so I respect her for that. I think it's interesting that she says one thing that I think a lot of times is important for LDS culture. Okay. Culture is, it's not just in a church building, but also on the bathroom floor. Well, in the LDS culture, they're obviously very heavy on church and temple and all that stuff. It needs to be very, very clear biblically that Jesus has made it clear as day that Jesus and God is not in a place, that Jesus broke that whole thing down. That doesn't exist anymore. You don't have to go to a temple to worship. You don't have to do these things. The veil was torn, not your veil from pre-mortal existence. I'm talking about the veil was torn for Jesus to do this work. And so your ability to have a connection to God is there by you just praying. Okay. Now, I also am just curious what the timing of everything is interesting to me. And I wonder if she feels the judgment. And again, I have talked to a lot of people who are LDS, and they need to hear me on this because this is my way of explaining what I'm saying. The culture of LDS is what has gotten out of hand. If anything, the culture of the LDS church has become the toxic part of the LDS church, right? They have become, not everybody, okay? I don't want to group everybody in, but you need to understand the culture is this kind of thing. It's that, oh, you're not LDS anymore. Oh, it's like, shut up, bro. Like, who put you on the freaking pedestal? You haven't read Jesus's words, have you? You freaking little smug boy with your tie too tight, man. You need to understand that is not how Jesus acted. Jesus cares about your heart. Jesus cares about your character. Jesus sees you for who you are. And that is the point. And you can't be better. I can't sit here and say, oh, I'm better than you. No, get off your high horse, because that's the exact opposite. You should be the opposite. Jesus washed his disciples' feet. Why? Because he was proving that there is not me being better than you. That's the whole point. And so that is why it's a big deal. I'm giving you this context so you understand that if she felt judged by this situation, everybody at church knows that situation. Everybody comes together and is in each other's ear. Did you hear about this? And it would make your life hell. So I can be a human being and still say, yes, she made a mistake in that video, but if it goes past that and kids are involved, that's when I am giving my opinion. I'm not trying to judge her as a person. I'm not trying to make her this horrible, can't be saved person. None of that. I'm just trying to be real with you, because it's that fact that the kids are in a bad position. So she does need to help herself, and so does Dakota, and we all do. We all need to take more time with ourselves and really make sure that we are getting better. That's it. Simple as that.
To go with my family at times. With that being said, it's time to detach myself from it. I strongly
Now that's
believe-
interesting. Detach yourself. What does that mean? What is detach? That's interesting verbiage.
Even Christ, God, the Bible, the divine. I believe we are loved whether we are praying in a church building or from a bathroom floor at home.
Which is
I've
true.
also experienced grace and love from amazing people that aren't sure what they believe, if at all, and that's okay too. Point being,
we have a faith crisis. We have an absolute faith crisis. We have lost our, because like we talked about the other day, the world is so confusing and there's so many conflicting things, and everybody's trying to prove that they're the true church and that they're the one that has the true God and they've got it all figured out. And it's like, man, it's just, we've got a faith crisis. I don't think I've ever met more people in this day and age that are around in, like, I would say anywhere from their 20s to like their mid 40s who have just like don't know how to feel about God at all. And there's a reason for that, but that's a whole nother show.
More out there to learn, and I'm writing this out as a release. Now, she also made her first grid post in a while, seemingly alluding to recent events, referencing the 40 days of the Lenten season when Jesus Christ went 40 days without food or water in the desert. Taylor wrote, quote, "He has risen and he is real. I got chills today when I realized it's been 40 days exactly today in this frantic state." As the caption, she wrote, quote, "The last 40 days."
Oh, sorry, I'm reading it to myself. I forgot you guys are here. Just for 2 seconds, I forgot you're here, guys. I started reading. So she says, "The last 40 days felt like hell on earth. Through every panic attack, I prayed for strength as I could feel my body breaking down and out from the distress of it all. And he sent just that in various ways, along with so many undeniable signs saying, I am with you, which I can't wait to share that part. I prayed since I was young and I've never strayed away because I believe he wants us to ask for help, especially during our lowest points. However, instead of just asking, I switched over to thanking him at the end of each day, no matter how low I felt." That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's really how it should be when it comes to your faith. One thing I try to, and I've learned, is simply when it comes to God, imagine how much you love your child now infinite times that, and imagine how it would be to go to God. We look at God as so many different things, but really he is your father. And so I have told you guys this before. I think everybody who's ever lived has an opportunity to be saved. That is what Jesus died for. That is the power of Jesus Christ. And so for anybody who's ever done anything wrong has the ability to go to Jesus and be able to flip it all around because of what he did, his price paid. So that's why it's important. Like we do that thing where we cancel people like for life, but would you not want to see her flourish later in life? Why wouldn't you want that? I'm sorry. Like, yeah, she really messed up. I'm here to tell you I know. And so did he. But I still would want the best for them. I still hope that somehow they become healthy for their own sakes, and then they become healthy because then their kids have healthy parents. That would be my hope. I don't want her to have to suffer for the rest of her life off of those incidences. She deserves to also have a good life. She just has to flip it around. That's all it is.
Felt like hell on earth. Through every panic attack, I prayed for strength.
Anyway, that's pretty much all what we were talking about here. But yeah, man, what do you guys think? I know a lot of you guys have different opinions about this kind of thing, and again, and I get it. And I know it's a touchy subject because, again, when it comes to those allegations of like the abuse thing, it's a really tough subject because there's so many multi-layers, and like there's even a study. I'm like, I don't even know where I saw this. I don't know how I saw this, but there's like 7 detach. It's like it takes like 7 times to fully detach from a really bad relationship. That goes on both sides. Now let's go back to something that I want to mention that needs to be said, I think, more often. I don't know. But abuse goes both ways, and it can be different. This is what people don't understand. It's so sad that we even have to have this conversation, but it's just the honest to God truth. There's so much different kinds of abuse, and they're so different because it's depending on how the person executes those things. And like a lot of it can just be mental. It never has to get physical. It never has to be that. It can be purely mental and how they treat you, the things that they do to set you off. Some people are like try to, piss you off. They're instigators, and they do it in different ways. They find out your buttons, and they want a reaction out of you. And then there's people like Lori who are just know exactly how to cut you down. Like this is what I'll say. Lori was a surgeon. If she was great at anything, but because we know she can't lie her way out of it, right? So lying isn't really always the whole thing. It's how she knows where to hit you, where you hurt, and exactly how and when to pull those strings. And for me, I always imagine somebody who like UFC fighters who can hit you with a pressure point, or like maybe slit some part of your tendon so you can't move. That is what it's like. It's surgical. And the thing is, it goes both ways, and it doesn't always have to look the way you think it looks. And so that's what's so complicated about the situation, is that in my mind, I think both allegation sides could have a lot of truth to them. It makes them even more responsible, though, to remove themselves and detach themselves as much as possible and put in real things, as I guess they both have protection orders against one another. But the point is, put in real things to keep that from happening because of your children. That's it. That should forget. You don't have to have a relationship or figure it out. But now your child needs you, and your child doesn't want to feel like their parents hate each other. I mean, what a horrible feeling that would be. And so I think that's what makes it really important as just parents, but as a society, that we're encouraging each other to get better the best we possibly can be and keep working on that. It's a never ending process. And to say, yes, I'm flawed. I could be better. I'll make better decisions. I'll learn from my situations. I'll grow. And then I'll pass that on and try to help someone else do the same thing. Because our kids, the generations behind, need us now until they grow up. And then we also want them to pass the same thing back. It needs to never stop, But I think it's sad because maybe every generation says this, but I feel like it's just getting worse because the circumstances that your kids are going to face are different, and the type of world that we're in and the type of exposure. So there's always going to be new challenges for each generation. But my responsibility is to pass down the best I possibly can to my children and protect them. And again, I'll just say personally, if I was in that situation and that stuff happened, I would do everything I could to take my kids out of the house, and then everything else would be dealt with accordingly, because my kids are not going to be around that. And again, I know that the child, if you guys do not know the story, the child who accidentally got hit by the chair from Taylor throwing it at Dakota is not his child. It was her first husband's child that they have together. But still, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the problem. So that's my take on it. You guys let me know what you think. I didn't expect our whole show to go around this, but there's so many different themes and important things that need to be talked about within this realm. And again, it is interesting to me that her leaving the church, I really wonder what kind of decision that was, because it's a big decision regardless. It doesn't matter. It's a big decision and affects how you function. I'm sure people she's around are not LDS, like maybe because I saw somebody said on TikTok that they're not LDS anymore. And a lot of them are getting divorces and stuff. That's the point. It doesn't, I don't know. I don't watch the show. So, and no disrespect to the show. I'm not going to watch the show. I've seen it in the background multiple times, but it's not something I personally could sit down and watch. And I even struggle watching The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, because it's just like, it's just watching drama like that. Like a villain being created and then like just nonstop, just petty. I just get so mad. I'm like, you're so petty. You're so petty. Like I remember, I'll never forget. The only thing I've seen of the show is that, and a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. So if you want to watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and not have me spoil one of the themes, this is a good time to leave the show. Love you. Thank you for being here. Spoiler alert. One of the themes is that one of the girls kissed another guy when her and her husband were on a break. That was the theme of every episode. And every time you go, did you hear that they kissed? Well, I think they did it. And the guy's like running around saying, yeah, we did it. And then they call him and they get him at a restaurant and he's like denying it. Then he's finally like, yeah, no, we never actually did anything, but I woke up and there was stuff in my pants. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we 12? This is like 8th grade. This is like a 13 to 14-year-old type of conversation. Like, this is weird. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit there and watch it. My personal opinion. Love you guys. No judgment to you at all. Just, again, you're not going to like the stuff I watch. You're not going to want to watch all the Navy SEAL movies that I watch, and you're not going to want to watch all this stuff. So, is his name Ross? Oh, man. Just not for me. Anyway. But, yeah. And again, that's the only thing you have to understand is that thematically, they have to make something happen. When you do the reality shows, they have to take a real life situation and blow it up as far as it can go, stretch that thing like silly putty until it's got nothing, because they have to keep engagement. They have to have something to film. You know what I mean? So, no, I did not watch it. No, I'm telling you right now, that was the point. Every time I heard that, I'm like, what is this? Why can't you guys get over the kiss? Listen, that was the conversation they're having. He's like, the guy, okay, let me just say it. I told you. Here's a spoiler. He goes, I don't know if we slept together because I woke up and there was some stuff in my pants, in my underwear. I was like, dog, there's no shot that you think that something happened based off of that evidence. Like, it just didn't make any sense. But whatever. Go watch it if you're interested in what happens. I just set you up with a real nice hook. You can go watch the show and you can figure out what we're talking about. That is exactly. Thank you, Tess. It's the season. They literally use that whole theme and it's just like endless. They pick that one thing and it like becomes everybody's topic of conversation for the whole every time. I don't even know how they do it. It's genuinely impressive that they can stretch that subject. And it's literally the same subject. It's not like there's just no angle or anything. It's just that thing. And it's just everybody talking about it. Thank you. Yeah. You want to have some fun? Look, Emmy knows. You want to have some fun? Go jump on Skyrim. You can conquer the dragons. You can go get Mirak. You can go join the companions. You can join the Dark Brotherhood. You can go to the Thieves Guild. I'm just ranting at this point. The show's got to end at this point. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for being part of the show. Tomorrow I am going to touch on something that is maybe possibly controversial, but that's okay. Cause you guys know I love you. You always know that my heart is to discuss these things, but we're going to talk about it because we need to talk about it. So you'll see in the thumbnail what I'm talking about. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard. Thank you guys so much for being patient. We had so many issues with the internet. And so we're back. Love you. And thank you guys. Appreciate you.